Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. So, today we are going to talk about the Willow Project, what it is, what's happened, the political and economic realities of it. We're going to go through kind of all of it real quick. For frequent viewers of the channel, you already know this. For newer viewers, this is something that is important to know, a little bit of a disclosure. To me, the climate is a big deal. So that's why we are breaking this up into coverage, and then my personal opinion will be at the end. Okay. So, the Willow Project. It's a massive oil project in Alaska. You had two sides, main sides, to this. The oil company and a lot of people within the state were in favor of it. Environmental groups and a lot of people within the state were opposed to it. The Biden administration gave approval for the project. The oil company is going to paint this as a win. Okay? We're going to go through the realities of what happened because both sides in this will paint it in their own way, and neither are going to be entirely accurate with it. Oil companies are going to say it's a win. Okay? And it is. They got about 3/4 of what they wanted. It is definitely a win for the oil company. They did have to give some stuff up, though, to make this through. First, they're getting 3 of the 4 sites, not all of them. Second, they're giving up almost 70,000 acres of leases that they've held. Now, the environmental side is going to paint it as like a total loss because environmental groups, when something like this happens, they tend to be pessimistic, mainly because they understand the situation we're in. Is it a total loss for the environmental groups? No, not really. They did succeed in stopping about 1/4 of it, getting some of the areas that were going to be leased, or that were leased, aren't going to be developed. And as a consolation prize, the Biden administration announced protections for a whole bunch of other areas. I think most environmental groups are going to look at the consolation prize protections and kind of be like, yeah, that's great, but, a future president can undo most of this. So they're not going to accept a lot of it. But it wasn't a total loss. They weren't just ignored. So, definitely a win for the oil company, though. All right. Okay, so that's what happened. The political and economic realities. If Biden wants to run again, and this is a clear indication that at this point he definitely intends on running for re-election. He has to keep the economy humming and gas prices down. Because of the global oil market situation, that's in flux. This helps with that. So that was probably a driving factor behind this decision. Now, the administration has had a decent record on climate up till now. The pledges about no new drilling. Is there an argument that the administration can make to say that this really doesn't count because it's been in the works for, 5 years or something like that? Can they make that argument? Yes. Is it going to be accepted by environmental groups? No. Would it be accepted by, me? No. But it's an argument that they can make. I don't necessarily see it that way, but it is an argument that they can make. From the political standpoint, this was a compromise move from the Biden administration that was good for them politically. From the environmental standpoint, and this is where we're getting really heavy into my personal opinion, none of this should have gone forward. None of it should have gone forward. To me, this was the opportunity for the Biden administration to make the hard choice and lead. Say, we have to break away from fossil fuels. We have to break away from dirty energy. And this is a moment to do it. You know, big rousing speech and all of that stuff. And try to get people behind the idea of transitioning. That is not what occurred. I don't think this was a great idea. I understand the economics of it. I understand the political realities of it. I get that. I think there could have been, there should have been other options on the table, and I think that the compromise, if a compromise approach was going to move forward, I think it could have tilted a little bit more towards the environmental side, even if it was going to move forward. I know that the development basically was like, you know, if we fall below this point, it won't be economically viable. I find that hard to believe. And it is worth noting that the Biden administration approved what appears to be the bare minimum for the company to say that it was economically viable. I don't know that I agree with the company's assessment on what is economically viable. I think they could have gone with less. But that is not what happened. So, of the initial plan, if you have been following this, about 3/4 got approved, 1/4 of it got denied. Consolation prizes, some of it are legit wins for the environmental side. Some of it is temporary unless, you know, it gets enacted through Congress. So, win for the oil company, at the same time, not a total loss for the environmental side. At the same time, me personally, I think this was an opportunity to lead rather than compromise. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.